The top stories tonight in Wine News. As COVID-19 cases in the country continue to decline, government officials are debating on whether to scrap the mandate on wearing face shields. Meanwhile, the Philippines reported its first case of the Kappa COVID-19 variant.
The national government is planning to conduct a 3-day national vaccination from November 29 to December 1. Amid the oil price hike, San Miguel Corporation Chief Executive Officer Ramon Ang expressed willingness to sell back the Petron Corporation to the government.
For our global news, a probe has been launched after 8 people were killed at a festival stampede in Houston, Texas, USA. And Davaoena Peñel Rojas was hailed as the grand champion of the Wishcovery Originals.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. We are now reporting live from Quezon City. Today is Monday, November 8, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Thiel.
First in the news. Residents in the city of Manila are no longer required to wear face shields in public starting today. Other mayors in the National Capital Region are also planning to follow the same route. But the Justice Department reminds local government units that the mandate still stands. Dante Amento tells us why.
Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso signed today Executive Order Number 42. This is declaring the use of face shields as non-mandatory in the city except in hospitals, medical clinics, and other medical facilities.
Ito po ay pinirmahan ko at effective today, November 8. All other agencies, enforcement unit were guided already and hereby guided already to implement such executive order.
Moreno stresses the use of face shield is not an effective protection against COVID-19.
Ang kailangan na lang natin gawin ay mag-mask, face mask. Opo. Para naman kahit paano maibsan ang inyong gastusin araw-araw dahil sa face shield na yan. Pero mga kababayan, kailangan ko naman ang kusang disiplina ninyo. Magpabakuna tayo.
Meanwhile, MMDA Chairman Benhur Abalos Jr. disclosed that the Metro Manila mayors agreed to lift the use of face shields. They will bring their recommendation to the IATF for final approval, but certain exceptions will also be implemented.
So napagkasunduan na lang ng Metro Manila mayors na talagang tanggalin na ito dahil meron ka namang protection, may mask ka naman eh. It's just an added one. Make it just a personal choice except for hospitals, for health centers, no, and the PUVs, no. So we are supporting the position of the DILG of Secretary Anyo here.
Other cities such as San Juan and Valenzuela also await the IATF decision before making the necessary action. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Minardo Guevara reminded that there is still an existing IATF resolution requiring the use of face shields, particularly in closed, crowded and closed contact areas, and it will stand unless revoked by the IATF, DOH, or the President. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the national government urged Metro Manila mayors to be patient and wait for the pandemic task force decision on the implementation of the face shield policy. For now, the palace urges residents to comply on the face shield mandate. Rosa Nicos details why.
The Department of Health will submit its recommendation to the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases whether or not to lift the mandatory use of face shield in closed and crowded areas. This as the average COVID-19 daily cases nationwide continue to drop. Thus, the DOH as well urges the local government units to wait for the IATF resolution on face shield.
We urge all local governments to just hold their executive orders or their issuances so that we can all be uniform in our implementation and we are all aligned. So we leave it to the ILG po to manage this kind of issues. We're just saying right now that the DOH together with our experts are going to meet this afternoon so that we can discuss these face shield views.
The palace, on the other hand, directs local chief executives to continue implementing the face shield policy for now.
Antayin naman po natin ang desisyon ng IATF. The order of the President through the IATF is ipatupad pa rin ang pagsusuot ng ating mga face shields. Konting pasensya lang po, pero kinakailangan sundin po naman natin yung chain of command sa executive branch of government.
Apart from Manila, the use of face shield in crowded places, close contact settings, and confined spaces in Davao City is also voluntary or optional. While in Iloilo City, the use of face shield is also no longer mandatory. Meanwhile, Vaccine SAR and National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez said majority of the IATF members recommend the lifting of face shield policy. He also expects for the resolution to be released within the week.
Yun din po ang namin po, ang parang recommendation po na karamihan po ng mga members ng IATF na magiging voluntary na siya at magiging required lang siya sa hospital at saka doon sa mga risk areas, high-risk areas.
The palace lets the DILG decide whether or not to impose sanctions against local government units who will not impose the face shield policy. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
In other news, companies in Metro Manila have started their operations after the capital was de-escalated to alert level 2 last week. However, several employees still prefer to work from home rather than showing up at the office. Janice Inhente will give us the details live. Yes, Janice, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. Some employees in Metro Manila are concerned about the time and cost that they will spend again on transportation when they will return to work physically. According to some workers, during their current work-from-home setup, they have saved a lot from the everyday fare in buses or the parking fees in establishments.
Pabor talaga sa akin work from home kasi nga yung gastos napakaliit. As nagagawa ko naman yung trabaho ko sa bahay. Sobrang laki na natitipid namin pag work from home. Pag nag-on-site kami, medyo magastos sa parking, sa gas, commute, tsaka traffic. Hindi nakaka-stress, kumbaga.
So, masaya ako na nag-work from home na kami kasi may baby ako. Mas pabor talaga ako sa work from home. Kasi unang-una mas tipid. Kasi pag nasa labas ka, syempre yung gastos mo, tas gastos pa dito sa bahay, plus transpo. So, mas pabor talaga ako sa work from home lang.
Some companies would also prefer the flexible work arrangements for their employees.
Yung decision ng management until now is continue pa rin kung ano yung setup namin. Yung setup namin, nagwo-work naman siya. So, hindi kami magmamadali hanggat nag-back to normal. Yung everything is normal. I think kung may level 0 na kailangan, yung level 0 or level 1, baka i-consider ng company. Kasi nga, yung safety pa rin ng mga tao namin ang inano namin, kino-consider namin.
But according to the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, some company operations does not suit the work-from-home setup and employees must physically present at the office.
Unfortunately, there are still some limitations, like for instance, yung spacing sa opisina because of distancing, tsaka infrastructure sa opisina, baka may mga problema pa rin for everybody to be coming to the office. Secondly, I understand there's still a problem with mass transportation. And people are afraid that baka mamaya yung transportation baka paging cause pa ng super spreader.
William, under alert level 2 agencies and instrumentalities of the government shall remain to be fully operational and shall adhere to at least 50% on-site capacity. William?
Yes, thank you, Janice Inhente, reporting live from Quezon City. The Philippines recorded 2,087 new cases of novel coronavirus disease or COVID-19, pushing the nationwide case count to 2,805,294. Meanwhile, 3,510 new survivors were logged. This brought the recovery tally to 2,728,696. The death toll, however, climbed to 44,521 after 91 more patients have died. The health department said all labs were operational on November 6, 2021, while 8 labs were not able to submit their data to the COVID-19 document repository system. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has topped to 249,986,086, while the deaths have surged to 5,051,478, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is the worst-hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 46,487,857 and 754,431 respectively, according to the CSSE. And in terms of infections, India follows in the second place at 34,366,987 cases and 461,057 deaths. In terms of deaths, Brazil comes second with 609,447 fatalities.
The Department of Health reported the first case of the Kappa variant in the Philippines, but the person has long been tagged as recovered. On the other hand, the DOH says the Kappa variant has been declassified by the World Health Organization. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The B.1.617.1 or former Kappa variant emerged from the same lineage as the Delta variant and is commonly found in India, which is at 69%. Health spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere reported the first case in the Philippines in Region 3.
The first case of the B.1.617.1 variant is a local case from Florida Blanca, Pampanga. The case is a 32-year-old male that had mild disease severity and is now tagged as recovered. During the time of collection, that was June 2 of 2021, the B.1.617.1 variant was still designated as a variant of interest.
Undersecretary Vergere also said during the time of the sample collection of the first case, Kappa was classified as variant of interest. On the other hand, the DOH said Kappa is no longer a variant of interest.
As of September 2021, it was declassified and is currently designated by the WHO as a variant under monitoring.
Meanwhile, the DOH also reported 651 Delta cases from the samples taken from previous months. The Delta variant is still the most common lineage with 34.59% nationally among sequenced samples. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
San Miguel Corporation Chief Executive Officer Ramon Ang expressed willingness to sell the Petron Corporation back to the national government. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
President and CEO of Petron Corporation Ramon Ang accepted the proposal of lawmakers to put back the oil company under government control. During the House Committee on Ways and Means briefing on the proposals to suspend the fuel excise taxes, Ang said he is willing to sell the corporation to the government anytime.
Yung sinasuggest na bilhin ng gobyerno yung Petron, privatization, anytime po, pwede ko pa ipautang sa Philippine government, bilhin niyo ito ng over 5 years to pay. Ano ho yan? I swear, kung gusto ng gobyerno bilhin, handaan nyo na, sabihin nyo na. At bebenta ko kagad sa inyo. Pagawa nyo na ng valuation immediately. Walang arte-arte.
Ang added that the company lost billions of pesos last year and he is serious about his offer to the government. He even allowed the government to pay in staggered payment of up to 5 years. However, there is a catch.
Last year, we lost 18 billion pesos. You can check that in Petron. So, hindi kami yung nagkukunya-kunyari dito ngayon. Ngayon, kung sa tingin nyo, jackpot yung negosyo yan, let the government buy it. At the market valuation lang, hindi ko kailangan tubuan ng gobyerno.
Bayan Muna Party List Representative Ferdinand Gaite welcomed Ang's offer to sell Petron to government, which was formerly state-owned and controlled. Gaite hopes that the current administration or even the next one would take the offer so that the government can have a say in controlling oil prices. In fact, he said the House Bill 244 that they filed calls for the full renationalization of Petron in a span of 4 to 5 years. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, local pump prices of petroleum products will be rolled back this week after consecutive weeks of price increases. In separate advisories, Pilipinas Shell Petroleum Corporation, Chevron Philippines Incorporated, and Sea Oil Philippines Incorporated announced they will slash their prices per liter of gasoline by 1 peso, diesel by 60 centavos, and kerosene by 65 centavos. Petrogas and Clean Fuel will also adjust their prices excluding kerosene. The price rollback will take effect on Tuesday, November 9. Other oil firms have yet to announce the same price changes for the week.
Vice President Leni Robredo laid out her ambitious COVID-19 plans in a bid to free Filipinos from their fear of COVID-19. Other presidentiables also shared some of their platforms to address the effects of the pandemic should they win the race. Arlene Delgado will tell us why.
As she presented her plans to address the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, presidential aspirant Vice President Leni Robredo says these were part of multi-sectoral consultations. Former Health Secretaries Dr. Manuel Dairit and Dr. Esperanza Cabral were also present to show support to the Vice President. Included in the COVID-19 plans of VP Robredo are the strengthening of healthcare system, vaccine accessibility, financial aid, targeted lockdown, implementing an unemployment insurance system, cash for work program, strengthening of the agriculture sector, and the return of face-to-face classes in low-risk areas. Robredo says up to 500 billion pesos can be sourced from discretionary funds of various government agencies to provide immediate COVID-19 relief.
May tinitingnan kami ngayon na mga pwedeng mahugot from DPWH, from DOH, from the Office of the President, from all the other agencies. Yun nga, nakakwenta na namin 500 billion. Nagawa na namin yan dito sa opisina. Na meron kaming kakarampot na pera, pero siniguro namin na i-shift muna siya sa COVID response. Possible siya eh. Kailangan maging ambitious kasi ang laki ng problema natin ngayon.
Meanwhile, another contender, former Senator Bongbong Marcos, wants to help small businesses to recover. Earlier in a statement, Marcos said he also wants to give more budget to medical research and to prepare the country with the opening of the global economy.
Ang talagang natamaan ay yung maliliit na negosyo. Siguro sa aking palagay, kung may ayuda tayo para sa tao, dapat meron din tayong parang ayuda para sa mga maliliit na negosyo.
Other presidential bets have previously shared some of their plans in addressing the pandemic. Senator Panfilo Lacson stressed the need to boost vaccination as a solution in reviving the economy. His fellow senator and another presidential aspirant, Ronald De La Rosa, expressed the same sentiment.
Simple solution dyan is bakunahan natin lahat ng Pilipino. Mag-produce tayo ng mga enough vaccine supplies para mabakunahan ang lahat. Yun lang naman nakikita ko. Wala na maraming paikik-ik dahil lahat naman ng mga solusyon ginagawa na ng ating IATF kung anong dapat gawin.
For Calyodi de Guzman, should he win the presidency, the first thing that he would do is to champion the rights of the working class.
I-register ko na kaagad na dapat ay labor first policy. Dapat ang paglingkuran, ang suportahan, ang kalingahin ay itong ating mga manggagawa.
And Manila Mayor Isko Moreno also emphasized the need to open up the economy amid the pandemic.
We've learned to live with COVID-19. And we have to live with COVID-19 and go back to work safely. And through the campaign, in our own little way sa Manila, yung vaccination is the solution.
Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. The Department of the Interior and Local Government proposes withholding a portion of benefits of Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program members who have yet to be vaccinated. But the Department of Justice says the benefit should not be suspended to unvaccinated members. Asher Kadapan Jr. explains why live. Yes, Asher, good evening.
Good evening, Harleen. Those who have already qualified under the Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino Program or 4Ps Act are legally entitled to the conditional cash transfer benefits, while the conditions for entitlement stated in the Republic Act number 11301 or the 4Ps Act does not include obliging its members to undergo COVID-19 vaccination. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara explains this as the Department of the Interior and Local Government proposes withholding the 750 peso monthly health and nutritional grant benefit of 4Ps members who have not yet been vaccinated against COVID-19. DILG spokesperson under Secretary Jonathan Malaya says that the proposal was based on the recommendation they received from the local chief executives and municipal health officers. This is due to the very low COVID-19 vaccination rate among the 4.4 million members of 4Ps, with only 12% vaccination rate. Undersecretary Malaya reckons that this move will encourage other 4Ps beneficiaries to get vaccinated.
Meron portion dyan na tinatawag na health and nutrition grant. Since health naman itong pagpapabakuna, our proposal is simply to withhold this. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo na niya matatanggap yung 750 until magpabakuna siya.
Vaccine Czar National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. agreed with the proposal. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, on the other hand, emphasized that the 4Ps may be obliged to get vaccinated, but amendments in the law may need to be done. But in a text message, Secretary Guevara says that the cash transfer is a transaction between the government through the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the qualified household beneficiary. While under the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act of 2021, the vaccination card shall not be an additional mandatory requirement for government transactions, among others. Hence, non-vaccination against COVID-19 cannot be a ground for suspension or termination of the conditional cash transfer benefits of a qualified beneficiary of 4Ps Act. Harleen?
Thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr. reporting live.
The National Task Force Against COVID-19 is proposing to hold a National Vaccination Day program from November 29 to December 1. JP Nunez will tell us why.
As ramping up of vaccination drive in the country continues, there are still regions who are lagging behind the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. explains that this is due to the challenges such as lack of cold storage facility, especially to the far-flung areas. Among the regions with slow vaccination rollout are Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, Bicol Region, Western Mindanao, Mimaropa, and Soc-Sargen.
Unang-una, nakita natin yung accessibility. Nakita natin yung mga areas niyan, yung BARM, yung access na nakita natin na karamihan sa kanila mga geographically isolated areas, yung Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, mga island provinces ito. And then ang limitation talaga ng cold chain facility. Tsaka kulang yung mga vaccinators.
To address the issue of slow vaccination to other provinces, an intensive vaccination drive will be conducted on November, coinciding the National Heroes Day.
Ito po ay pinapropose po namin na magkaroon ng 3-day National Vaccination Day tayo. Ito po ay magsisimula sa November 29, 30 at saka December 1. Kasi tinatawag po natin na talagang yung National Heroes Day yung November 30 kasi parang natin, messaging natin na ang lahat ng tao na magpapakuna ay isang bayani. Kaya nga gagawin natin yung National Vaccination Day para makita natin yung makapacitate natin yung mga lugar, lalo na yung mga lugar ma-reinforce natin, yung mga lugar na medyo mahina ang kanilang vaccination, ay ma-reinforce po natin at mabigyan po natin ng tinatawag na support in terms of numbers of vaccinators.
President Rodrigo Duterte earlier said all government assets should be used to ramp up the delivery of vaccines. The Department of the Interior and Local Government already mandated the PNP and BFP for the augmentation of vaccinators. NTF against COVID-19 aims to reach 1.5 million daily vaccination rate to achieve population protection before the end of the year. The last record of the NTF shows 28.7 million Filipinos are now fully vaccinated, which equates 37.23% of the target population. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
For the news abroad, authorities are investigating the causes behind the deadly crowd surge that occurred at the Astroworld Music Festival in Houston, Texas. Ruth Bahe tells us why live. Good evening, Ruth.
Good evening, Elsie. 8 people died and dozens were injured at the jam-packed Astroworld Music Festival Friday night. The crowd surge was so tightly packed that when people began pushing towards the stage, the audience in the front were crushed, the chief of the Houston Fire said. Officials are reviewing video footages and assessing how the venue was laid out and what prevented them from escaping the situation. Authorities are also looking into a possible use of illegal drugs, as there were several incidents involving the use of Narcan, a drug used for treating narcotic overdoses. The first lawsuit in the case has been filed. Manuel Souza, who suffered serious bodily injuries at the show, is seeking at least $1 million in damages from a host of defendants, including Scott and Live Nation, according to a petition filed in Harris County District Court. Meanwhile, rapper and organizer of the annual Astroworld Music Festival, Travis Scott, sends his condolences to the families of the victims.
I could just never imagine the severity of the situation. We've been working closely with everyone to just try to get to the bottom of this. The City of Houston, HPD, Fire Department, everyone to, help us figure this out.
Astroworld, in a tweet on Saturday, sends its sympathies to those who died and their loved ones and calls on cooperation from the public to report to Houston police and any information on carjack arrest during the event. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Ruth Bahe, live from Vietnam. For the first time in nearly 2 years, the United States opened their lands and air borders to international travelers. Maeve and Dog will tell us why live. Yes, Maeve?
Elsie, according to the U.S. government, the country's borders are reopening with the goal of restoring normal travel while limiting the spread of coronavirus. The U.S. has closed its borders to countries like Brazil, China, India, South Africa, and much of Europe since the declaration of the COVID-19 pandemic. But today, the country will be flooded with international visitors. All travelers must produce a negative viral test result and are required to provide proof of vaccination before boarding a plane to the U.S. U.S. Customs and Border Protection will be asking land travelers from Canada and Mexico to provide vaccination proof and will spot check some documentation. White House Representative Kevin Munoz said on Twitter that the Biden administration is taking steps to provide additional resources. They are currently discussing plans with different airlines to manage the surge of international travelers. Elsie?
Thank you, Maeve and Dog, live from Australia. Sudanese civilians still enraged at the military government started a 2-day civil disobedience protest in the nation's capital, Khartoum. Queenie Rivera will tell us why live. Yes, Queenie?
Elsie, as a move against the Sudanese military government who initiated the coup back on the 25th of October, on the 25th of October, groups of pro-democracy called for a 2-day protest on Sunday. The groups took the streets of Khartoum, calling for military's retreat from government and exit in politics. As a result, the security forces followed them and deployed tear gas, broke up and arrested those who opposed the military government. Many were unaware of the events of 2-day civil disobedience due to communication restrictions following the military's decision to cut the internet and phone connections. The protest resulted in many casualties, and those injured were taken to the Royal Care Hospital. A surgeon treating the injured expressed their concern, stating her heartbreak for the young and injured victims. To this current time, many civilian officials and ministers remain detained, with the civilian Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok still under house arrest. Elsie?
Queenie, what events had led to the Sudanese military taking charge and initiating a coup?
Elsie, Sudan for a long time has had internal conflict with rebel groups and the government. But last year, a peace treaty was actually signed. However, many rebels rejected joining forces with the military. This allowed the military to initiate the coup, halting the power share agreement between the military and civilians. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Queenie Rivera, live from Singapore. A magnitude 5.5 earthquake has rocked northeast of Collingwood and has felt widely throughout central New Zealand. GeoNet reports the earthquake struck just after 4:15 p.m. NZ time and was recorded 190 kilometers deep, centered offshore in the Whanganui Basin. More than 13,000 people have responded to GeoNet's online alert that they felt the quake, majority of them in the central and lower North Island. GeoNet explained that the quake likely occurred in the Pacific Plate, which subducts under the Australian plate. Most of the quake's energy travels up and along the plate to the surface. Meanwhile, no damage was reported after the earthquake. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
A Davaoeno walked off as the grand champion in the Wishcovery Originals, a contest for Filipino singing-songwriting acts. Nina Anmiliot reports why.
Seven songsmiths had made it to the finals of the Wishcovery Originals, but only one of them was hailed as the grand champion. Davao City local singer-songwriter Peniel Rojas got the highest overall scores in last night's grand event for her craft entitled Poet's Path, besting 6 other tunesmiths to watch out for.
There's a feeling in my chest, I know it, I know it, I know it. There's a beating of a heart in between.
Wow, that's so powerful. Daniel Rojas, so powerful. You brought tears to my eyes. You gave me goosebumps. You look amazing on stage. You have transformed into this artist. You definitely moved me.
Poet's Path. Yeah, well crafted, really good songwriting, just the right performance, and bagay yung arrangement, and everything about it is just exquisite.
Magnificent na performance na na-capture mo yung audience, and I'm just excited to hear more stuff from you in the future, and hopefully hindi dito matatapos yung karera mo sa Wishcovery Originals. Galing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for seeing me and seeing my music, and thank you for bringing me to these wonderful friends of mine. I could not ask for anything more than the bond that we've shared these past few days. So, thank you. Thank you.
Peniel Rojas! Bilang grand champion, Peniel won 1 million pesos, a million peso worth of recording contract with KDR Music House, a brand new car, a Lumina house and lot, and a chance to work with her fellow finalists on a commemorative album. May Teves came first runner-up for her song entitled Anino sa Baba, Mayroon Akong Nakita. While the 5-piece band Whitecaps won second runner-up. The music-filled evening was graced with the performances of O Flamingo, actor, singer, songwriter Juan Carlos, and Mayonnaise. And Wish 107.5, being an FM station with a heart for charity, always includes good deeds in its every event. The Wishcovery Originals Grand Finalists had the opportunity to donate grocery items that benefited 300 residents of Barangay Doña and Barangay Sibul in Orani, Bataan at a free store event while adhering to health protocols set by the government.
And it feels good to give back to others and to share our blessings.
Napaka-fulfilling po niya, nakakataba ng puso ang makatulong sa ating kapwa.
Nakaka-overwhelm siya ng joy kasi ako rin prati kong wini-wish na magkaroon ng power to give.
The people are very blessed to have Wish 107.5.
Wish 107.5 is thankful to God that despite the pandemic, the Wishcovery Originals Grand Finals finally pushed through.
I will never get tired of starting things off with gratitude to the Almighty. Hindi po lingid sa ating kaalaman na yung global pandemic po has prompted us to pause our Wishcovery Originals activities in 2020. But behind the scenes, we never stopped planning, trying, hoping, and most especially praying for this day to come. And with God's help and mercy, we're finally here to celebrate the artistry and raw talent of our grand finalists. This is because we at Wish believe in living our purpose. At isa po sa aming mga pangunahing layunin ay maipakilala din ang angking talino at talento ng atin pong mga kababayan sa buong mundo. Through the years, we have become our local artists' gateway to the world, a platform where both aspiring and legendary acts can perform inside the iconic Wish bus and share their songs, their messages to the world. This is exactly what we want for our grand finalists to experience. We are here to proudly showcase the future of OPM.
Kuya Daniel Rason also reiterated Wish 107.5's mission for original Filipino music.
Sa pamamagitan ng Wishcovery Originals, layon po namin na magtanim ng mga binhi ng magagaling na singer-songwriters para sa kinabukasan ng OPM. And I believe that in the coming years, the Philippine music industry will reap bountiful musical harvest through your talent and hard work. Dahil po sa inyo, naniniwala ako na mas yayabong at gaganda ang OPM.
Nina Aramilio, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word giving glory to God from the book of Proverbs chapter 20, verse 7. It says, "The just man walketh in his integrity, his children are blessed after him."
And those are the reasons behind the news, November 8, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.